Charles.
Happy Friday, brother. I see you busting out the new intro.
Yeah. Trying to get it all situated here. Playing
Okay.
around with some things. And you go ahead and kick it off. I'm still fixing my camera over here.
I got you. Well, happy Friday, everyone. Uh, we have a new president. I just heard someone pose the question, when will the honeymoon end for President Joseph R. Biden? He's been on the job roughly 48 hours, people. Let's stop to talk about the honeymoon ending. He has some ambitious plans, and we'll talk a little bit about that. As Leslie gets his camera together, I actually want to talk about the inauguration a little bit and what we've seen thus far. Seems like he spent the bulk of his time in Delaware getting ready by getting his executive order game together. He's entered quite a few on everything from clean air and water to COVID-19 national federal responses. So we shouldn't be surprised that as we still are confronting COVID-19, that our previous president did not leave us with adequate vaccine supply. I don't know why we find that shocking, but what that does do is place a lot of stress on the system for individuals who sorely need the vaccine. And our new president has the team in place to try and fix all of the things that are wrong with the COVID response to date. So he's off to a fast start, and we wish him well as he goes forward. We Today marks another first. We had Kamala Harris swear in John Ossoff, Javier Becerra, and Reverend Raphael Warnock right after the inauguration. So we have 3 new senators in place, which leaves us with no black females in the United States Senate. Very interesting. But another first today was retired General Lloyd Austin sworn in as Secretary of Defense, first black man to rise to the level of Secretary of Defense. So congratulations to him. A very diverse cabinet in place, and it seems as though they are going to be a hard working group. One of the things that was interesting to me during the inauguration festivities was our new president's walk to the White House. When he got there, he had an extended photo op at the front door. For those of you who do not know, United States presidents do not open doors at the White House. There is a staff that is paid to open doors. Interestingly enough, one of the final things that outgoing President Trump and his wife, Mrs. Melania Trump, did was fire the head butler and give the rest of the staff the day off. So it had to be quite disorienting. I know that's a first world problem, but that is a very petty thing to do. I can't really see who's in the room and what type of questions you have, so I'll just keep going here. Other things that I'm looking at is the rise and fall of the United States Senate. Now that we have a new majority leader in Chuck Schumer, what shall he do? There's a lot of talk about not ending the filibuster. Well, my opinion is get rid of the filibuster and get the work done so that the agenda can be done. For those who do not know, filibuster is a way for the minority to cause objection and slow down uh, things in the Senate, and it causes all types of problems. And it is a relic of the Jim Crow era, and it needs to go. Welcome back, Leslie.
Hey, glad to be back, man. Glad to be back. You know, technology, it always has something waiting on you.
That's right. That's right. Why don't we kick it off? I sent you one photo for today's show, one and one only. There were lots to choose from, but since I'm talking about the Senate, I wanted to go ahead and get that up on the screen so we can talk about it a little bit.
Well, let me do just that. I think I know the one you're talking about too.
Yeah, for a little context, you had people who were decked out in all of their finery for the inauguration, and then you had those who were dressed for comfort over speed. Senator Bernie Sanders happened to be one of those who was dressed for comfort, a trip to the post office, a trip by his office, and many other things. But he was comfortable, and he was there to witness President Biden be ushered in as the new president and Vice President Kamala Harris. And in the midst of it, he became a walking meme machine with his mittens and the way he was sitting in that chair unbothered. So he has been photoshopped into all types of stuff. I found this to be one of my absolute favorites. Senator Bernie Sanders as a UFC tap out champ.
That's hilarious. That is funny.
Yeah. I mean, on his face, it's just the cool factor with the gloves. I think he was.
Hey, the good people must say those are mittens.
Oh yeah, my bad, mittens. Yeah. He was gifted. He was gifted those by one of his hometown folks in Vermont. I think the inside lining is made from recycled plastic. If anybody wants to know, I don't know the exact name of them, but they have a certain cool factor when you put them with the jacket and the regular mask.
Yeah, and they were actually made by a school teacher.
Yeah, so all good developments. Besides just being funny, I feel like this is the approach that the Democrats should take in the United States Senate. Make the Republicans tap out. Just make them tap out. Go ahead and use your majority to do good for the people, because we know that people are struggling. There are long food lines. People are worried about being evicted. You have the issue with racial justice. You have the issues with climate change. You have all sorts of issues that need to get done, because evidently, I think what we will find, Leslie, is that not much work went on between the White House and the Congress over the last 4 years.
No, I mean, and this has been well documented, and this is the one thing that all the news channels got right. Even Fox was just stating that to have the majority that they had in the Senate at one time to control both houses and still not be able to get some of those things in the law. So a lot of, even like the wall that was done by executive order, it wasn't put into the law through the Congress in that way. So there were a lot of things that just didn't get done because you have to work together cohesively. And I think, to your point on as far as being bipartisan, I think you got to make an attempt to be bipartisan, but you can only be bipartisan if they are willing to compromise and give up something. And that's what it's about. And so I think they're going to have to move forward, but we'll see.
Yeah, I think Chuck Schumer has said, Majority Leader Chuck Schumer said today that he is not willing to accept the Minority Leader, who is now Mitch McConnell, his compromise on the organizing documents. Because what McConnell wanted essentially was for him to capitulate and say that we're going to have filibuster rules, even though, now get this, When they wanted to pass tax cuts, when they wanted to do stuff for judges, they relaxed those rules and did it on a majority vote.
Right.
So why now are you running for cover and asking for filibuster? And that's only so you can slow it down for 8 months, and then everybody starts campaigning for the midterm.
True. So, I think also, how many executive orders did you say he signed so far?
I think he did 15 the first day and maybe another 10 or so thus far.
Well, let me just hit on a couple key ones that just hit everyday people really quick that I think our audience would appreciate. For all of you who have, like me, been to school, got higher education, but you still paying back some loans, and you might have lost your job and all these things that happen, you now have relief. You now have extended relief. He's extended that was set to expire this month, I believe, now to October for 0% interest and forbearance, no payments until October. And so what this means, even for people that are paying it back, this is the first opportunity you have to really tackle that if you're in a position to pay it back, because you can hit directly at the principal and not be paying the interest, which we all know on student loans can get ridiculous. So that's something that's going to impact a lot of people, not just Democrat, not just Republican, but I mean everybody, Republican, Democrat, Independent, anybody that's got those student loans, because they do not discriminate. They're going to be able to be impacted right away. The extension of the unemployment aid and insurance, some of those things that were signed, the Muslim travel ban that was impacted right away. So there's several things that have been impacted right away that are going to affect people right now.
Yeah, he extended the moratorium on evictions and mortgages. So he's trying to hit at things that can help people stay on their feet, because a lot of people just not getting off of their feet, or they're still down on their knees because the pandemic is not only keeping people inside, it's hurting the economy and people's earning power. One that I found interesting today was he did an executive order around making sure that the food pantries have enough resources.
Yes.
And so, doesn't matter if you're red or blue or purple, if you're hungry, it simply doesn't matter.
You've heard me say it before. Some things are just a issue of humanity.
Yeah.
It's not a political issue.
What we got in the audience, man? We 13 minutes in. Let's see what we got in the audience.
Let me check in. We got Angie is in the house. Willie Mae is in the house. Mom is in the house. So, yeah. So we got a few in the house. They slow to come in today. Y'all come on in, family.
It's a rainy day. They may be taking the Bernie Sanders approach. They may be coming back from the post office.
Marsha's in the house.
All right.
So, yeah, I think, so that was the thing that was striking to me. I think people look at, what big moves, it was the things that affect everyday people. And I'm an everyday person. And so when we talk about those types of things that immediately impact the quality of life in terms of humanity, in some cases even allow you to put food on the table, right? When you got to make that tough decision to choose between, eating, right, and getting evicted. I mean, rent and eating. Now people don't have to make that choice. And so those things matter. We also have Antonio is in the house.
All right. Here's a question. Here's a question.
In the house. They're coming. They're coming in.
Okay. LaShonda Wright, I have a question. I was about to ask Leslie a question, but I have a question for you because you were on my mind quite a bit during the inauguration when I saw Joe Biden walk over and say hello to the mayor of D.C. How do you feel about D.C. finally having an opportunity to become a state.
All right, LaShonda, talk to us. How do you feel about that? Well, Charles, how do you feel about
Do it right now.
it? But why? Why are you an advocate for DC becoming a state and not just a district?
Because you have people who are lifelong residents of the District of Columbia, Puerto Rico, and other territories that are under the auspices of the United States of America, the Virgin Islands, and these people pay taxes, they fight wars, they die. Some of them paid their last full measure with their lives defending this country. But they, you know, for the territories, they can't even vote in the presidential election. But DC, when you see stuff like what happened on January 6th, and you had basically the worst of the worst happen, and the mayor has to rely on making a phone call to somebody else in federal government to ensure that she has troops to protect her city. I mean, it's high past time that we do away with that. They pay taxes into it, so why can't they be a state? I tell you why they can't be a state. All this time they've been blocking it is because they know the demographics of the District of Columbia, and they feel like the voting uh, record of the soon to be two United States senators will throw the balance of the Senate out of whack permanently. That's why they don't want these people uh, granted statehood. It's politics, and it needs to stop.
I agree. Let me just update you. We also have Rachel Mays in the house. She says, no vote, no voice. That is true. And we're going to talk about that too. Here's Charles as LaShonda. She said, hey, it's wonderful and for a long time coming. I'm actually a DC government employee. DC has amazing people as residents who deserve representation.
Absolutely.
I think, and sorry to cut you off, Charles, but I think even for me, we don't often think about that because most of us lives in states that have privileges, but I've never really thought about the great people of DC hadn't had that privilege.
Yeah, and then too, think about it this way, and I'm sure Teresa could weigh in on this. There is the District of Columbia where the Capitol is, and the White House, and all of the federal buildings. That's about 7 to 10 square miles, and that's where everybody goes when they go to DC. The museum, Smithsonian, the African American Museum, that's where everybody goes. But then you have this other 90% of the District of Columbia that's black, brown. It's a diaspora of America. It looks like America, but their voting record is progressive. And so because of that voting record, they don't want them to have admission into the United States House of Representatives or into the United States Senate because they know that will be a skew in the numbers. That's not a good enough reason because if you can send them off to war, then they should be able to participate in governance. If you can collect their taxes, they should be able to participate in governance.
I agree. It goes back to the same situation, right? I have all the obligations, but none of the benefits, from a DC perspective.
Yeah. I'll take it even one step further. Hold on. While I'm doing that, see if there are any questions out there. I'm about to look up something.
All right, guys, family, just post any questions you have or comments in the chat, and I'll get it up here for Charles. Any questions or any comments on the subject of DC becoming a state, and also around what they don't have that the citizens of the other 50 states have. So when we think about it in terms of that context, I think also while we're getting those questions, Charles, I think, the other important thing to realize is that we cannot, you wrote a very, very great post the other day on social media. And it spoke to the fact that we cannot slow down right now. In fact, we've got to hit the gas because the work really has to get done now because 2 years, 2022 is almost here. Now I know we're in just 2021, but let me tell you, midterms is almost here. And we've got to work now to continue the momentum to make greater impact and movement so that we can really make some of those monumental changes that need to be made for humanity. That's going to require much more substantial much more substantial head count in the House and the Senate to get passed through. Yeah. So how do we do that? Could you speak to how we also have to pay attention locally and what's going on locally and be very engaged locally and nationally and not just kind of relaxed now that we've got the president, we've gotten the senators in Georgia, and now we think we can go on cruise control?
Well, one is to know the history of midterms. As a community nationwide, our voting record in the midterm elections is putrid. It stinks because we have the votes to win on the national level, as we just showed. Matter of fact, if you go back and look at the popular vote in the presidential election, we won that just about. It's been almost a shutout for the last 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cycles. But when it comes to midterms, so this is the local issue. You got Rachel Mays in the House. She could probably shoot you a question about redistricting. When your state houses are voted upon and your membership is done, they draw the lines. Well, this is a redistricting year. So they're gonna make some changes that condense some districts so that they have a chance to pick up more seats. Also, because not every seat is up in every election, we're gonna be on defense. And so we have to be mindful and know what the issues are and what's at stake. And I think the easiest way to think about that is think about how much was put into Georgia and why.
Yeah.
And realize that Georgia will be right back on the ballot next year. And so the same pressure that we applied in Georgia has to be applied across the country. Speaking of which, we got a new DNC chair. Young fellow who ran for the United States Senate against Lindsey Graham. He is the new DNC chair. And he has pledged to be very aggressive across all 50 states in going after seats during the midterm. So I think that's very important. But before we go too far down that rabbit hole, I want to finish my thoughts about DC and the territories. I put in the chat another image. If you'll put that up on the screen, I want to talk about this for just 1 second.
Yep, I sure will. And then I just wanted to put this up that LaShonda wanted to point out an interesting fact about DC residents. They pay more federal taxes than 22 states in the union.
Oh yeah, no doubt about it. The money is going in, but no say-so is coming out. Are you all familiar with this young lady? Congresswoman Stacey E. Plaskett, hailing from the Virgin Island territory. She is one of the House impeachment managers who will be putting former President Donald Trump on trial in the United States Senate, possibly as early as next week.
Well, you know what the Constitution says about that? They're saying that the articles of impeachment will go from the House to the Senate on Monday.
Yes.
According to the Constitution, is very clear on when the trial has to start once that happens.
Well, yes, but I put a picture up for now. Congratulations to her for being selected to that high honor, because even though it's a trial, to be selected to be on as an impeachment manager is a high honor in the House of Representatives. But check this out, Liz. She can assist in a trial to impeach a president, but her citizens cannot vote to elect a president. Now, how backwards is that?
That is true, because they're just a territory, right?
Right.
So when we talk about equal voice, this is the things that everyone needs to know and understand. So I'm glad you pointed that out. Continue on.
Yeah, I mean, I just think it's high irony, and kudos to Speaker Pelosi for thinking so strategically that, hey, look, I know your people can't vote for president, but you sure can vote to dislodge one.
No doubt.
I mean, the thing about Congressman Eleanor Norton Holmes from the district, she's provided exceptional service to the House of Representatives. Exceptional. But she should have been a United States Senator by now. Our governor. So, I mean, those things are often missed because people have just gone along with the status quo. Nobody really questions it anymore. They just travel to the district and enjoy the Cherry Blossom Festival or the inauguration, or go up there. Some people go up there to break in buildings, hey. But they don't question the fact that there's no sovereignty with the district. They have to rely on other people. When they need the National Guard, they had to call the White House.
Case in point, let's talk about things like that. So that was a question that came in after we finished the show last week. Why didn't somebody asked, and they just didn't know. They said, why didn't DC call their own National Guard? And that's one of those things that's a perk of a state, not of a district or a territory. And so DC doesn't have a National Guard. So in order for them to get support from Maryland or Virginia's National Guard, it has to go through the DOD and be approved. So that didn't happen.
Right.
And that's why there was no National Guard there on January the 6th.
Just a month later, after former Vice President Pence, whose life was in danger, had to actually go and make that call because the president was not going to do it. So, when the investigation is finished, I'm pretty sure there'll be all type of revelations as to what happened in that breakdown in chain of command and everything else.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons why in the last show I told you impeachment must be done, because there has to be accountability. Now, isn't it ironic that we started with Bernie Sanders doing a tap-out move in MMA, but the Republicans are doing kind of this crazy dance of, please don't remember that we were part of the insurrection. We aided and abetted, and in some cases provided comfort and information and tours and everything else. But don't remember that.
Hold on. I'm glad you got there, because I was waiting for you to get here. So I'm going to get my 2 cents in, and I'm going to yield my time to the distinguished gentleman. But I'm going to call him out. Kevin McCarthy.
Yes.
Mitch McConnell.
Yes.
Lindsey Graham. I'm amazed at how these stories have flip-flopped.
Yeah.
And even on Inauguration Day, the tone and what they were saying, I'm like, oh, that was quite different from only 2 weeks ago. How about even a week ago? And these are the same people that stood up even after the insurrection and still objected to the certification of the results.
That's right.
This is post-insurrection.
That's right.
So that baffles me. That baffles me how now we are clear that, and we can point the blame, and we're clear that it was President Trump. It was this. However, that's not what you said a short time ago, and that's not what you said on the night of January 6th, shortly after 8:00 p.m. when you guys resumed. That's not what you said. And that's not what you said when y'all objected for 3.5 hours. So
Even before that,
it's selective amnesia is what I say.
even before that, Josh Hawley was out there giving a fist pump to the insurrectionists, egging them on. But now he doesn't want to be held responsible. Ted Cruz was speaking right when they were breaking in.
Yeah, that's not it. It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. And then I even go further back to that. That's amazing because Ted Cruz was once a victim of Donald Trump when he was on the campaign trail, when he talked about him bad, talked about him, his wife, his father-in-law. I mean, and he went from, I can remember him campaigning here in Texas. He couldn't stand him, had nothing positive to say about him, and then all of a sudden he switched. So
yes, because Ted Cruz was playing politics. He felt like he could throw a punch and hide his hand and be able to egg them on just enough so that they will remember him when he gets ready to run for president in 2024. And I'm of the mindset that not only should he be expelled from the United States Senate, he should never be president.
I agree.
You've shown yourself power hungry and willing to support a big lie that you all knew it was a lie. And like I told you last time, for Ted Cruz to be a highly educated man, sometimes some of the stuff he says, you wouldn't even find in one of those yellow books at Books A Million. What's the Books for Dummies? You wouldn't find that stuff in there.
Well, I mean, to that point, you're talking about both of them, both Josh Hawley and Ted Cruz. We're talking about what, Stanford and Yale? Law?
Yes, for Hawley, Stanford and Yale.
Yeah.
And if I'm not mistaken, in Hawley, Oxford as well.
Yes. So they know better. There's not a question of whether they know better. Now, Iris has a great comment. I'll put that up here. The Republicans are lifetime politicians, realize that their fearless leader has gotten kicked out, and now they still want to be in the club, so it's now time to distance themselves.
Yeah, but you don't get the benefit of distance because we saw you. Not only did we see you, we heard you. And now there's video that the New Yorker, I believe, put out. Those insurrectionists were down on the Senate floor trying to collect intel, and they said by name, I think Hawley Cruz will be just fine with this. They're trying to find information to support them. That is why an ethics complaint was opened on yesterday against them, because you got to be held in account for that. Because more than just breaking into the building, Leslie, the United States Capitol is the heart of American democracy. That is the symbolism. You just violated the sovereignty of the United States of America. And I've heard over and over again people say, well, we know what would have happened if that would have been black people. Imagine had it been foreigners.
Right. Well, you know what they're saying, Charles? I'm going to tell you what they're saying. Here's what they're saying right now, because they don't remember all the stuff you're talking about. So here's what they're saying. They're saying this right here. And let me tell you what they're saying. They're saying,
did I do that?
Yeah.
So that's what's going on with that. They don't remember that.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, man. What we got from the audience, bro?
So Iris says, wait a minute, hold on.
Yes.
Lashana says the symbol of democracy for the world.
Right.
Iris says, note the pardons prior to Trump's departure.
I want to talk about that a little bit later, Iris. So hold that thought. I want to talk about that and what people should be looking out for on that.
Yeah.
I want to get at a little bit of life because I think you own to something right there.
Definitely.
But yeah, I mean, you cannot have unity without accountability.
You can't. And that's what they were saying. So, also just yesterday, Mitch McConnell had proposed to Majority Leader Schumer that they delay the impeachment trial to mid to late February. And what Schumer was saying, and what a lot of Democrats were saying, and even some Republicans, that we can't move forward. You can't unify, back to your exact words you just said, without having accountability. It's like if you think about the way we were raised when we grew up, if we did something wrong, yeah, our parents still loved us, but you better believe there was accountability.
That's right.
The actions have consequences. I hear you say that all the time.
That's right.
And so actions have consequences. I still love you, but guess what? We still got to deal with these consequences.
Got to.
So we have to. You can't move on and you hadn't addressed the fact. And then furthermore, these are your own colleagues in Congress. You endangered all their lives.
Everybody.
I mean, if it wasn't for, I think about the split-second decision of Officer Eugene, and I can't get his last name right now. I apologize.
Goodman.
Say it again?
Goodman.
I want to give his full name. So without that quick thinking, they could have been in the Senate chamber while they were still in there.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
I think it was either Washington Post or New York Times that did the story that showed the exact time lapse, 60 seconds.
That's right.
That's how close they were to the vice president.
That's right.
And to be honest with you, they were so angry at the vice president based on the words of the president. And here's the strangest thing of it all. I can never remember, even going back in history and researching, a time where the president openly says, our vice president has let us down.
Yeah, no, you don't do that.
Who does that?
We know who does it, but you don't do it.
You don't. So, I mean, I don't know. The symbol of democracy, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it's troubling. It's troubling, especially when we know that there is video that hasn't surfaced of some of the House members, especially thinking about the Congresswoman from Colorado, provided aid to some of the insurrectionists by giving them tours the day before the insurrection. So it's a lot that has not come out yet.
Well, there'll be a lot that comes out in impeachment that's gonna really, it's gonna shock a lot of us. Even the ones of us who think we probably can't be shocked. There's going to be stuff that come out that's just going to really...
Well, I wouldn't even say in that. It's not going to be in the impeachment, Liz. This is what happens. Having been a former federal prosecutor, this is what happens. Right now, they are making arrests so that it stays present on everybody's mind. But the part of the investigation that you need to know most about is the part that you can't hear about. And that is the money, the information, the connections to social media, the connections to the internet, the connections by phone, by text, all of those things are being assembled. And by the time they finish assembling that, the picture that you will see is going to be terrifying.
Gotcha. Well, here we got another comment. Let me get this one up.
The only people that could approve tours at that time was Congress people.
Wow. That makes it very easy to isolate too.
Right.
Because it wasn't like there was just a mass amount of people at the Capitol, because like you said, all the normal tours, all the museums, it wasn't even that many people just in Washington other than people that needed to be there.
Right. There's a thing such as that's called member privilege. Even though it's closed to the public, a House member or a Senate member could request a tour, and basically request, all they're doing is asking themselves, can they do it?
Interesting.
Yeah. I mean, it's a sobering thought that you have insurrectionists that are elected officials of government.
Well, when you think about when you think about domestic terrorism, when you say America attacked America, that's words I never thought I'd say.
I don't see why. The biggest threat when on the terrorism scale has been for the last 15 years white domestic terrorism from hate groups, from militias, from lone wolves. This is well known, well reported, well documented, put in front of Congress, put in reports. Southern Poverty Law Center has gone undercover. They keep a list of all the domestic terrorists and hate groups. So does the Anti-Defamation League. This known, it's just been ignored because it was white terrorists.
Well, that's where I was going, but I guess for me, that historically, that anger, that hate has been pointed at specific ethnicities, specific groups. I didn't expect to see it pointed at people that look like them, so that was a shocker to me.
Well, you had one of the most poignant speakers of his time dedicated to what he saw. And I think one point that people don't realize is for all Donald Trump's faults, marketing and understanding the psychosis of the aggrieved white male, he knew how to speak to that.
He did. Look, I can't knock him on his marketing skills. The man is a master marketer, right? He can get his message out, and he knew exactly what he was doing. It was strategic. He knew it from the beginning where his base would be, where he could rally support to do the things that he needed to be done. And to be quite honest with you, I mean, he out strategized the whole Republican Party. You talking about he come in as the underdog and beat out 17 career politicians?
Yeah.
To win the nomination? I mean,
he knew how to tailor his message in such a way that he did it in captions or flash so that was going to be repeated over and over and over and over. Somebody just did a extended report about his drain the swamp. He never had any intention on doing that. And if you look at all the people that were in his inner administration who got convicted, charged, investigated, run out of government, and he had to pardon all of them. I mean, no, in no way was that even true. But he knew how to phrase it in such a way that it stuck. And he knew how to work free media because he's been broke for a long time.
You're going to have to go. Now, you're going to have to explain that last comment, right? And then I have to come
explain it. So look at this. While all these other campaigns were raising millions and millions of dollars, when Trump first came on the scene, he did some shady math to say he had the money, but he didn't have it. But what he was doing was using the norms of political advertisement, live shows on news stations. If they give time to a Republican, then they have to give equal free time to a Democrat and vice versa. He knew that. He exploited that. So his goal was to always be on TV. It's not by accident that he chose Twitter as his medium of choice. Twitter provided him with short statements that he could do 24 hours a day that he could do for free. And he could bypass anybody he wanted to and go directly into his message and spew whatever he wanted to spew. And if you say something enough times, it becomes true. That's what a big lie is. That's what gaslighting is. If I say it over and over, eventually somebody's going to take it as true. And oh boy, what a slippery slope it is when they start going down.
No doubt. I mean, and boy did it. Boy did it. I mean, look, if I say they're gonna steal the election enough times, you'll believe it.
Yeah,
it happened. We got another comment, Charles. We got George Britton is up in the house.
What's up, George?
Let you take that one.
Oh, George. Oh, yeah. So I'm gonna start with the last line first. Adolf Hitler was very intelligent and power hungry. Here's where the rubber meets the road. I agree with George 1,000%. I know that Haley or Hawley or whatever his name is, insurrectionist from Missouri and insurrectionist from Texas. Yeah, they know better. They are extremely talented. Ted Cruz is arguing before the United States Supreme Court. So I know how smart and how technical and how precise you have to be for that to happen. So in no way am I discounting their intelligence, but they became drunk with the thought of Trump is out. I can grab his base. All I got to do is parrot what he's saying, and then in a week or so, I can get back to doing regular Republican things. What they did not count on was that slippery slope that a big lie goes on.
Charles,
So once it goes up, gravity says it has to come back down.
Charles, here's your next book title: The Sex Appeal of Power.
Yeah.
Cause I mean, that's what it was about, right? And if you watch, they've tried to speak to the base because they want those votes. They want to take that 75 million people and bring them over to them for 2024. And they want to start with that base.
Yeah, because they know that base is willing to put money in. They're willing to be more than just voters. They're willing to be vocal.
We got an update, a breaking news announcement just come in. Thank you, Antonio. Impeachment trial February 8th. Just breaking news.
Appreciate that. Hey, we need to get some music for breaking news.
I know. I'm gonna have to do that. That's what I'm gonna have to do. I'll put that on my list.
Yeah. When we're breaking the funk, we need to be able to have something, Hey,
you're right. We're right.
Yeah. Now, back to Iris's point about pardons. Pardon power is probably the most unadulterated power provided to a president. You can give a pardon for just about anything. What has distinguished our democracy from other democracies is that it has been done in such a way that it has been fair and balanced as possible. It's not always fair. Nothing is perfect. And we know, I've quoted it over and over and over. What do we have? A republic, a democracy. What do we have? A republic if you can keep it. The little things, the norms of letting the Justice Department pardon lawyers. Now, notice now, we have a whole department full of pardon lawyers who are to look at packets and vet people and see if they are worthy of that redemption. The thing about Trump is he could care less about norms. So he went around that and he just gave out pardons to his friend. The thing that I want you to watch from, I know the list is just terrible. Kwame Kilpatrick got him one. Old mayor from Detroit, he got one. Lil Wayne said, bump y'all. That picture he took was worth a pardon. He got out of his possession of a firearm in Florida. And Kodak Black got him a pardon too.
Yep.
But here's the thing. The one thing about pardons that I want our viewers to be up on, because I imagine this is going to become a thing sometime down the road, because if you've studied Trump for any amount of time, he's never gone. He's never gone. He's not gone until you stamp it all the way out, which I imagine Tish James is going to want to see him, and he'll be tied up with her for a little while. The Honorable Letitia James, Attorney General for the great state of New York.
Yeah.
But here's what I want our audience to be up on. Did you know, Leslie, that all pardons are not public?
Yes. And I was hoping you was going to address, and there's been, of course, he could, we don't know who all he's pardoned.
Exactly. And that's why
he could have pardoned himself. He could have pardoned every member of his family and just wrote it on a napkin, and they don't have to reveal it until they're charged.
Exactly. Here's something else I want you to watch out for too. The language of your pardon needs to be precise, because I have a feeling that some of these people who got pardoned, they celebrate now, But they probably not gonna be celebrating too much with Merrick Garden since the federal government in there to test those pardons, and they're not written well, and they can still be charged for crime.
Right.
Now he could also pardon his businesses.
Yeah.
Corporation can be treated as just like an individual.
Yeah, because it is a tax-paying individual. It's a separate entity.
So I would say watch out for the pardons that we know nothing about down the line.
Oh yeah, listen. I know for sure. There's a lot of pardons that we don't know about today that we'll find out about tomorrow.
That's right. That's right.
You know, and it's just something that we never really had to think about before. But with this president, yeah, it's because there's no way, in my opinion, this is just my opinion, but there's no way he left office and didn't pardon himself and his family. No way.
Now, before we run out of time, there's a couple of things I want to ask you about.
Okay.
We have the first Black female vice president.
Correct.
Why don't we have any Black female CEOs of Fortune 500 companies?
We got a couple. Listen, Charles, we don't have many Black male CEOs of Fortune 500 companies. And here's the statistics that's really going to bother you. When you look at how many Black women are in corporate America.
Oh, yeah.
Versus the ratio of how many are in senior leadership at the C-suite level.
Yeah.
It's even more head scratching. Because
tell the people what a C-suite is.
C-suite is your senior level executive. These people report directly to the CEO. So they run whole divisions, so typically when you think about it, we're talking about chief financial officer, chief operating officer, we're talking about chief human resource, all those chief titles are senior executive titles. Just look and see how many you see that are African-American females. And then if you look at the percentage of them in the workforce though, and then here's the other kicker, watch how many of those are in position like that actually train the people that now they report to that are in the C-suite. So it's you gotta understand who controls corporations. It starts with the shareholders. You got to look at the majority shareholders. The majority shareholders, you get chairman of the board. That's where it's controlled. It's controlled in the boardrooms, and they control the whole power structure, and they control the CEO. Now you got some cases where the CEO is also chairman of the board. That's the ultimate power play when you're both, but not everybody has that luxury to be both.
So when I was writing, that's one of the things that I was thinking about, but I put it as today is a good day, talking about the inauguration day, but tomorrow we go further. One of the furthers that I would like for us to explore is the lack of Black female talent at these top levels.
No doubt. I think we should. And I think, when we do it, it'd be great to bring a panel of Black women that have been there that can speak and join us in that discussion. I think it's important to do that because we all know this is not a question of talent. This is not a question of skill. This is a question of opportunity.
Yeah.
We know why the Black male is not there, right? And so that's a whole different topic. But even with the female, they're disproportionately, their numbers is just so much worse than Black males because there's not that many of us in corporate at those levels compared to Black females. But when we look at their ratio, it just really will make you just cry. It's that bad. And so all the work, all the things they do. And here's the thing about it. When you look inside of any organization, a lot of times, I guarantee you, if you go to the go-to people that really make it happen, it's probably a Black one.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. So let's look a little bit further into that into 2021.
Will do.
Before we get out of here, this is the other thing I want to hit on. I just sent you another image. Put that image up for me.
Absolutely. Got it ready to go.
Probably not known before Inauguration Day. Blow that up for me a little bit, because you will hear from this young lady for many years to come. You're going the wrong way. We want to be.
Get you blown up here. Let me.
Amanda Gorman, 22 years old, youth poet laureate, accidental. And you know how I feel about accidental. Nothing that sweet is accidental. That was divine. Dr. Jill Biden heard her speaking, doing poetry, and tapped her for the inauguration. She's 22 now. This is an older picture, but I mean, you know, black don't crack, so she's gonna look like she's the sun until she's 990 years old.
But Charles, you're a poet yourself. Both write. I mean, I thought she did a phenomenal job, and I'll particularly say, even at 22, the crowd of that size, a moment that big. Usually you can pick up some of the nervous anxiety in the voice, in the delivery. Man, I didn't. She was stoned.
Here's what I would tell you, because we've all been on the big stage. There are going to be fumbles. Nothing is going to be 100% right. Her nose started running, right? So she had a little bit. She was going so hard, she had a little snot coming out of her nose. She picked up in intensity, cleaned her face, and kept pushing.
Isn't that a message for us all?
That's right. And she's done the work. And at 22, she's poised to be a new voice with a new perspective. Just intellectual horsepower that has no limit. And I see HBCUs being what HBCUs are. Morgan State offered her a job already. So everybody else better get in line, because they president said, I got to have you. He offered her a job on the spot. Got to have you.
I can't blame him.
No.
I mean,
and what was so stunning about her poem was, so when you look in the mirror in the morning when you're getting ready and you're singing So Fresh and So Clean to yourself, Joe Biden did something that probably half of the country's heads exploded when he acknowledged that there's a problem with white extremism in his inaugural speech. I've often contended that if you did nothing else in American history other than read inaugural addresses to your college students, you could point out what was wrong in the world by what those incoming presidents pointed out in their inaugural address. Because all the great ones did. And we should have known. I think I told you this. You probably don't remember, but I told you when that American Carnage speech was done by President Trump on his inaugural, I'm like, watch out, because this is about to be bad.
Yeah, you did. You know, I think for those who I just got to give a little bit of this for those that didn't give a chance to hear, and go back and you listen to a speech, but this young lady deserves a moment for us just to hear words, because I thought they were just so right on.
Mr. President, Dr. Biden, Madam Vice President, Mr. Emhoff, Americans, and the world. When day comes, we ask ourselves, where can we find light in this never-ending shade? The loss we carry, a sea we must wade. We've braved the belly of the beast. We've learned that quiet isn't always peace, and the norms and notions of what just isn't always just is. And yet the dawn is ours before we knew it. Somehow we do it. Somehow we've weathered and witnessed a nation that isn't broken, but simply unfinished. We, the successors of a country and a time where a skinny Black girl descended from slaves and raised by a single mother can dream of becoming president, only to find herself reciting for one. And yes, we are.
Listen, that line still puts chills through me because it says, you know, we call it placement of reference of skinny Black girl could only dream to find herself now reciting for one. The dream of one day being president to now find the reality of herself reciting for one. That's
potential candidate in 2036.
Yeah. That's the America. That's the democracy. That's the America that we should be looking forward to. It's an America that includes all of us.
Well, it's right there. In order to create a more perfect union. As she said, the country is not broken, it's unfinished. The reason why you have a riot inside of the United States Capitol is because change is afoot. And the last gasp of extremism is usually violence.
True indeed. Well, Charles, we're out of time, so close us out.
Well, now we know what we have to do. The late, great Nipsey Hussle told us that the marathon continues. What that means for us is Kamala Harris, respectfully, Vice President, chucks and pearls, all of that good stuff. Get your chucks back on for voter registration. Get your chucks back on for accountability. Get your pearls on when you want to look good and do that too. But it still must go on. And for the fellas, the second gentleman is in place. Let's support him. We don't know if we got to go to tea. We don't know if we got to have crumpets, but we do know that we have midterms coming.
Yes.
And so all the work of Stacey Abrams, all the work that our new DNC chair will do, the distinguished gentleman from South Carolina.
Mr. Harrison?
Yeah. Young brother, dynamic brother. He may not have won, but now he has a chance to do just like Madam Stacey Abrams did and put foot to pavement and create further change in order to create a more perfect union. The work is not done. So we got to make sure that while we have the chance to push a progressive agenda, we do our part to continue pushing and not just celebrate. We celebrated on Inauguration Day. We heard all the good stuff that we want to hear. But the day after, we see that there is still no unity. And so that means we have to push for those ideals in our communities through voter registration, through voter participation. We need to have mind-blowing numbers and let them know that Georgia was not an aberration. And not just Georgia this time. We have to expand it out. We have 1 W on the board. We got to go get 2. We got to go get 3. We got to keep going because the people need us to do that.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Guys, tune in. We'll be right here next week. And we're going to bring it as always. Come join us. Have a great weekend. Continue to be safe. It's still a pandemic. Wear your mask. Social distance. Be safe, everyone.